Half an hour later, the plane came to a complete stop. Nora let Cherry sit on the luggage rack while she pushed it forward. As soon as she turned on her cell phone, it began to ring. On the other end of the line was a frivolous but lively voice. "Athena," the person said, using the name Nora had chosen for work. "You have to be careful." Nora asked casually, "Why?" "Justin Hunt is on a global hunt for your personal information. Do you know how well connected he and his family are? He's not going to give up until he finds you." The voice sounded a little like its owner was gloating. "Oh," was all Nora could think to reply. "Athena, you were overseas before, so you weren't in his territory. That's the only reason you were able to avoid him. But now that you're back, you won't be able to escape anymore. You're the most prestigious surgeon around. Can't you just treat his grandmother and get it over with? I've heard Justin is a very generous and very handsome man. Wouldn't it be great if you two got swept up in a big, dramatic, scandalous affair?" Nora yawned lazily. The Hunts were highly influential in the business world, but they were a sprawling family with notoriously complicated relationships. Nora knew that taking on a Hunt as a patient might get her dragged into a struggle for power and inheritance. Why would she stick her nose into the public or private matters of such a rich and powerful family? She had come back to the US to look for her son. She couldn't get involved in any complications. As she approached the exit, Nora spotted a familiar figure in the arrivals area. Without thinking, she replied to her caller, "I'm not lucky like that, but thanks." After hanging up, she tossed the phone in her pocket and cast her eyes downward coldly. She hadn't expected to see this particular old acquaintance so soon. A man stood at a prominent spot at the exit of the airport. He was wearing a suit and looked quite bright and cheerful. He looked a little more mature than he had 5 years ago, but he hadn't changed all that much. There he was, her fiancé, Anthony Gray. With a pickup placard in his hand and a big smile fixed on his face, he stood impatiently and grumbled, "When exactly is that damned woman coming out?" From behind him, his assistant said, "Mr. Gray, please be patient. Your grandfather has specially instructed you to refrain from making things too unpleasant, even if you are calling off the engagement." Anthony frowned, ruining his cheerful act. "Patient? I'm disgusted. She was a mess before. She must look even worse now. I bet she'll want to save the engagement even more now, right? How did I get stuck with someone like her?" Nora heard every horrible thing he said, but she didn't bat an eye. In the past 5 years, she had repeatedly brought up her desire to break off the engagement. Neither the Smiths nor the Greys had respected her wishes. Who exactly was stuck with whom? She couldn't be bothered to pay any attention to that man. She planned to leave immediately with Cherry. After he finished his grumbling, Anthony turned, and his eyes lit up. A beautiful woman was walking toward him, the first to come off the flight. She was gorgeous, unbelievably stunning. It was as if the entire airport had lit up a few notches brighter the moment she appeared. As the woman drew closer and closer, Anthony straightened his back and neatened his luxury suit. Then he smiled and asked confidently, "Hey beautiful, may I ask your name?" Nora thought, "He looks just like a peacock with its train spread open." She paused and looked at him coolly. "Nora Smith." Cherry pointed to the placard in Anthony's hand as she slowly read out the name written on it in her young, tender voice. She was just learning how to read by sounding out words. She asked excitedly, "Did I read it right?" Nora rubbed her head and said in a cool, melodious voice, "Yes, you did." Anthony was dazzled by the little smile playing at the corner of her lips as she looked down at her daughter. Where had such an amazing beauty appeared from? This woman was absolutely stunning. It didn't cross his mind for a second that she could be Nora. Nora was indifferent to the burning fervor in his eyes. Cherry, on the other hand, blinked and asked innocently, "Mister, are you here to pick—" Before she could finish her question, Anthony tossed the placard behind him as fast as he could and interrupted her. "Of course not, little girl. I have nothing to do with that ugly lady." Disbelief appeared in Cherry's big eyes. Which part of her mum was ugly? "Mister, what are you talking about? Are you going blind? That's sad." Her words stunned Anthony for a moment. Taking advantage of the opportunity to escape, Nora stepped away coldly. Anthony wanted to go after her, but his assistant stopped him. "Mr. Gray, don't forget your father's instructions." Anthony watched Nora as she walked away with Cherry and muttered under his breath scornfully, "How great would it be if that ugly freak was even half as beautiful as her sisters? Maybe I would have put up with her disgusting behavior and not had to call off the engagement."
To find out what happens next, download the Pocket FM app and listen to the audio series Saving Nora for free.